Hello again, my little Volks Grenadiers, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be doing a bolt action unit review and deep dive. Now, it's been a little while since I've done one of these videos. In fact, I think the last time I did one was in 2nd edition, but a lot has changed since then. We're in 3rd edition now, and so I think it's time for us to re-review some units and also look at some new ones with this series. And if we're going to be starting up the unit reviews again, well, we have to start with one of my favorite tanks of all time, both on the tabletop and I love it historically as well. It's an absolute workhorse, a fantastic unit if you are a beginner or veteran German player alike. It is the Panzer III. And so without further ado, let's mount up, roll out, and dive right into this thing. To start off, I want to give you guys a general overview of what you can expect if you include Panzer IIIs in your army. What's its role in your force? Now, this might sound kind of obvious, but fundamentally, the Panzer III is a tank. I know, it started off with the high quality content there, but bear with me. What I mean by that is it's a damage dealer, not an objective doer. Most objectives, such as things like key positions, can only be achieved, can only be secured fully by infantry units, and Panzer IIIs and other tanks can at best contest these objectives. Now, whilst contesting an objective can be an important role for a tank to do, it's not quite as good as just fundamentally locking that down and especially stickying it if you are playing something like key positions. So instead, you want to think of the Panzer III as a damage dealer. Principally, its role is to remove enemy models from the other side of the board. Now, being a damage dealer, of course, isn't unique to the Panzer III. From the lowliest machine gun up to the heaviest artillery piece, we've got damage dealers available. But the Panzer III does 3 things very uniquely, which I think give it a big advantage and are why it's such a workhorse in so many German players' lists. Number 1, it's a classic medium tank. This means that it combines both maneuverability, durability, and firepower in fairly equal measures. You will find vehicles that have more firepower than the Panzer III, but maybe they're a bit more expensive in terms of points or they're a bit less well armoured. Panzer III has got a nice balance of all of these things, which makes it a good jack of all trades. You can put it in any list, and if you're not sure the situation you're going to be getting into, for example, if you're going to a tournament or something, you know that the Panzer III will be able to do something in every single game. Second big advantage of the Panzer III is that there are lots of different varieties of it. Unlike when you look at some other tanks where there's like 1 or 2 different options that you've got, the Panzer III has got loads of different variants, and all of these can bring their own set of advantages and disadvantages, which might make it perfect for a particular list that you're building. If you want a Panzer III, which is early war, not very well armoured, but a bit cheaper with plenty of firepower, we've got you covered. You want one that's a bit more late war with all the bells and whistles, we've got you covered. You want with a light howitzer, you want with a medium anti-tank gun, a light anti-tank gun, that's all good. Do you want with a flamethrower? Not a problem. There really is a Panzer III for all occasions. And thirdly, and this is a real life factor rather than a sort of in-game factor, but the Panzer III is easily accessible to all players. It exists inside starter armies. You can buy plastic versions of it from Warlord Games, and they're easy to build. You don't have to try and find some obscure resin or metal model or go and get some dodgy 3D print potentially. Nope, you can just get access to a Panzer III very easily, and like I said, I've built a couple of these things and they're really easy to build and they're fun to build as well. So it's a good unit for just being able to actually get one and field it on the tabletop. However, in the interest of fairness, I think we should look at a couple of disadvantages with the Panzer III as well. Firstly, it is very much a generalist unit, and whilst this can be a good thing, it can also be a bit of a bad thing. The Panzer III may find itself being outperformed by other units which are more specialised. Panzer III can handle any situation reasonably well, but specialist units are always going to have an advantage in certain areas where they'll be able to handle specific situations very well. And secondly, it is at most a medium tank. Now, by being a light to medium tank, you do be a bit cheaper. You have got some point savings there, which is great, but when you start getting into the late war, and a lot of players do like to play in the late war because that's where all the best bits are, all the gubbins and everything, all the cool equipment, well, you're going to start encountering things like heavy tanks. You're going to start encountering things like IS-2s, Churchill tanks, Pershings for the Americans. Also, you've got the fact that some of the Soviet vehicles are going to end up having medium tanks with a heavy anti-tank gun like the T-34-85. So as the war does go on, if you are playing later war games, you may find that your Panzer III is fighting a bit of an uphill battle. But that covers the general pros and cons of this unit, but when we talk about this unit, what are we really saying? Because there are so many different variants of the Panzer III, and they all have their own unique traits. So let's now go through each one of the different variants and briefly touch upon its stats, any special rules it's got, war gear, and some advantages and disadvantages. Starting off, we've got the Panzer III C and D. Principal services was 1939, numbers manufactured were 45. Cost, you can take it at 108 points in experience or 135 points regular. There is no option for you to take this as a veteran tank. That is very important because remember that veteran tanks are the only ones that can ignore pins from things that have a pen value but can't actually hurt them. This may not be as big a disadvantage with this Panzer III though, as it is only a light tank. So typically things that can pen it will be able to hurt it, so you might not get as much value if it could be veteran anyway. Period is technically strictly early war, although if you're playing at home with your mates, it doesn't make a big difference. It's only if you're playing a themed or specific historical battle that you might not be able to take this variant. It comes equipped with a turret-mounted light and tank gun with a coaxial MMG and one forward-facing hull-mounted MMG. Now, before we get into the pros and cons of this particular configuration, it is important to note that we've also got the Panzer E and F. These were between 1940 and 1942, and there were 535 of those made. And these are pretty much, from a rules perspective, exactly the same as the C and D. I think Warlord has just included these in case you've got a particular model. Maybe there was some slight differences in how they sort of physically looked, in terms of like extra bits and bobs on them. So the real difference between these two is just one is technically early war only and one is early to mid war. But in terms of the actual rules for them, they are identical right down to the equipment and the fact that both can only be taken as at max regular veterancy. So with that in mind, I am going to basically lump both of these together. So what is the advantages and disadvantages of a Panzer III with this sort of loadout? Well, firstly, it's cheap. 135 points for this much firepower really is a bargain. Like, if I compare this to, let's say, the Matilda II for the British, which only has a light anti-tank gun and a coaxial MMG, I am missing out on a lot of... I'm going to get an extra MMG's worth of firepower, and my Matilda is slow, and yeah, sure, Matilda is armor 9, but it's just, this thing is relatively fast, it's got good firepower, and for a very attractive price point. It's really a cheap Dakar tank. The two big problems with this vehicle is it's light and it's light. So it's a light tank and it's packing a light anti-tank gun. Now, light anti-tank guns might be okay for picking off the occasional armoured car, but even then, over half range, you're only going to be pen +3. So against something as simple as an armor 7 Bren carrier or a simple armoured car, you're looking at a 4+ to try and damage it. You need a 5 or a 6 to pen, you need a 4 to glance it. So the light anti-tank gun is a bit of a pop gun, and it's not really going to be doing a lot of damage. And then with it being a light tank, not only, yeah, sure, it's not as at risk to things like enemy light anti-tank guns coming in, but a medium anti-tank gun, something as common as a medium AT, is actually a genuine threat to this. However, that last point is a bit less of a factor in 3rd edition because of cover saves. Sure, you might only be a light tank, and sure, a medium anti-tank gun might be able to pen you fairly easily, but if you've got a 4+ save because of heavy cover, because of hard cover, it could be a super heavy anti-tank gun. If you keep making those 4-ups, you're fine. This is where I think the Panzer 3G comes in. Now, I'm just going to be upfront with you. I think this is the best variant of the Panzer 3, and this is my go-to variant of the Panzer 3. You see, it is a little bit more expensive, coming in at 155 points, and it is still a light tank. But it comes with a medium anti-tank gun and then the machine guns that you want. Now, the reason why this is so important is because it's still cheap enough to be fairly spammable. Remember, we're not talking about 2nd edition anymore, we're talking about 3rd edition. You could take 2, if not 3 of these things in your army and still have plenty of points left over in a standard 1250 point game. So it's still very affordable. You can still kind of get away with it being a light tank because just bang this thing into some heavy cover and the 4-up saves might be doing a lot of work for you. But now it's got a medium anti-tank gun. So it's not quaking in its boots the moment that like a T-34 turns up or a basic Sherman. You've got enough firepower there to barney with the big boys. Not the super big boys, but to barney with other medium tanks. You can get around the fact that you're a light tank with cover saves, and you're going to be significantly cheaper. I mean, most medium tanks, medium anti-tank guns, we're thinking Shermans, we're thinking Cromwells, we're thinking T-34-76s. Most of those are going to come in at about 200 points, the 200 point price point. So you're going to be saving 40 to 50 points over them, whilst being able to match them in terms of firepower, and with clever play, offset the disadvantage of you being a light tank. However, I fully accept and understand the argument that relying upon a 4+ cover save to protect your tank might be a bit of a gamble. This is where the Panzer 3 H, J, and L and M, yes, I am lumping them together, you'll see why in a moment, come in. This is your classic medium tank of bolt action. It is a medium tank, meaning it's armor 9+, which actually gives it pretty good protection against medium anti-tank guns. When you think about it, a medium anti-tank gun firing over long range against this thing, it's probably going to need a 6. It's going to need a 6 to pen. It's going to need a 5 to glance. So it gives you a reasonable level of protection against like common anti-tank weapons. Also, it's not too expensive and you do retain a lot of the firepower. If you're someone that likes to have a good all-rounder tank, these are the two that you want to be focusing on. Now, I guess the big question in people's minds is going to be, well, what's really the difference between them? So the Panzer H and J is 5 points more than the Panzer L and M. The reason, even though they've got the same loadout and the same armor value, the reason why this tank is 5 points more is because of this reinforced rear armor special rule. Essentially, you count shots on the rear armor as shots on the side armor, so the enemy doesn't get the pen +2 against your rear armor. Truthfully, it's not a very useful rule, because if the enemy has got round the back of your tank and is shooting it in the ass, something has probably gone horribly wrong for you. And just playing better, just playing well, will essentially nullify the need for this rule. So as a result, I probably wouldn't really bother with this unless you've got like just 5 points left over at the end of your list. Then fine, upgrade one of your Panzers to the H and J. For everyone else, I would go for the L and M. It's 5 points cheaper. Save that 5 points and get exactly the same firepower and also get the exact same armor value. You can also upgrade the Panzer 3 to have the Schürzen side armor. I wouldn't bother. What this does is it kind of protects you against shaped charges, but it's not a very useful rule. It's okay, but I probably wouldn't pay 10 points for it unless you really want to sort of commit to the like aesthetics of like a late war Panzer and you want to have like the chutes on the side, sure, go for it. But I probably wouldn't bother paying for this. One interesting difference between the two vehicles as well is you can take the H and J as inexperienced. You can't do that with the L and M. That's not a big deal because you probably want to be taking these tanks as regular anyway. Although there is an argument to be made for veteran now because they do have medium armor, so they might actually be able to ignore some pins with things like anti-tank rifles. So long story short, I know we've thrown a lot back and forth there, I would recommend the Panzer III L and M. This is my favorite version of the Panzer III because it is a really good beginner all-round tank. You've got medium with mediums, and you've got a decent price point, and you just don't need to worry about any special rules or any mad stuff like this. Just take it in its most straightforward configuration, and you will have a tank that will be able to happily chug along in any battle and in any list. The last two Panzers that we've got here is the Panzer N and the Flam Panzer III. These are both very specialized versions of the Panzer III. Firstly, the N has got a light howitzer. So it's still a medium tank and it's still got medium machine guns, but instead of having a medium or light anti-tank gun, it has a light howitzer. I have used the N a number of times. I have really tried to like it, but I just don't. The thing is with German tanks is typically the role of your tanks on the battlefield is to deal with enemy armor. That's why they're there. You're going to have your infantry running around with assault rifles and SMGs, probably flamethrowers and all sorts of mad stuff. Your infantry are going to be there dealing with the enemy infantry. Your mortars and your artillery are going to be there dealing with the enemy infantry. Your tanks are there to deal with enemy tanks. Now, this isn't true for all bolt action factions, but it's especially true for the Germans. And so going with a light howitzer, it kind of just stops you from being able to do the number one thing you're taking your tank for. So yeah, I wouldn't take it. Even though it's a little bit cheaper, I've never taken one of these things and been happy. There are other vehicles out there which for cheaper can, with the Germans, which for cheaper can throw out way more anti-infantry firepower, bigger templates. This is not the way to go, unfortunately. I mean, especially when you compare it to something like the Chi-Ha for the Japanese, which is 40 points cheaper. And yeah, sure, it's only a light tank rather than a medium, but it's coming with a light howitzer and coming with exactly the same firepower. This is not a good option. I wouldn't recommend it. And then we've got the Flam Panzer III. Now, this is also 175 points, and it comes with a flamethrower and some MMGs, and is a medium tank. I like this thing. Genuinely, I like this thing. If you're taking it, it's probably a little bit ahistorical. If you come up here, you can see that there is a bit of a text about how the Flam Panzer wasn't really used because they kept blowing up and all this kind of stuff. But in my experience of using flame tanks, they are wickedly effective. Everyone talks about like flamethrower teams and engineers of flamethrowers, and those are good, don't get me wrong, and they can be, you can get the same effect from a small package, but they can be very fragile, or in the case of, if you're looking at veteran infantry flamethrowers, they can be very, very expensive. Flam Panzer III, it's a medium tank, so it's armored enough. You're not looking like some of those crazy Italian like light tanks, open top flamethrower mad things. No, it's armored enough that it will probably get to what you want to burn. And then it will just start burning. And it's got the longer range because it's a vehicle flamethrower. I like it. For 175 points, you could do a lot worse than taking a Flam Panzer. It's good against vehicles because it makes them shit the pants with the fire and terror. And it's good against infantry because it's a goddamn flamethrower. So overall, I do like the Flam Panzer. It's a bit of a niche one. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a wild card. But I do actually think it is a particularly and potentially very powerful unit. So out of all of these, I think the Flam Panzer III and the Panzer III L and M, and the Panzer III G would be my top 3 recommended Panzer III variants and loadouts. But I think that just about covers everything. One last thing I do want to do is show you really how many variants there are of this thing. When you look at the Panzer III, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different variants for one tank. We come down to Panzer IV, which is another very popular tank for German players, and we've got 1, 2, 3 variants. Panzer IV is a good vehicle, but the point I'm trying to make here, what I'm trying to illustrate, is when I said there truly is a Panzer III for all occasions, all lists, and all players, I meant it. But all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Give me lots of feedback regarding the format of this video. Did you like having the general pros and cons and general information about the Panzer III at the beginning, or would you rather have had that at the end after we cover the different variants? And what do you think about the Panzer III? And what is your favourite variant? For me, I always end up going for this one because I kind of like to roll the dice and risk it on those cover saves. But what about yourself? Do you prefer a lighter Panzer? Do you prefer a heavier Panzer? Or do you prefer a Flam Panzer? Don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. I do know it's a bit cringe asking for those kind of things, but especially when we're covering a bit more of a niche game like bolt action, any support that we can get does help. It really does boost this video with the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously, guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.